Hi there, I'm Rob Marcellus. Welcome to my site. First things first, I'm not a doctor or a medical expert. I have a degree in agriculture and an MBA. I'm just a regular guy. I didn't launch this site to make recommendations to other people, but simply to share my experience in the hope that it'll help somebody else as well. We spent and invested so much time and effort in trying to find the information that would help us. I feel obligated to pass it on, and I know my wife does as well. Here's why. In April of 2022, I was told I have 6 months to live with no treatments that can help me. Days earlier, on April 8th, my appendix had burst, and emergency surgery revealed 3 golf ball-sized tumors in the right colon. And as it turned out, that was only the beginning. The peritoneum across the stomach area was described as studded with a blanket of tumors. 4 lymph glands were cancerous that were removed during the surgery. And further scans revealed 9 more tumors in various locations across my midsection and 1 in a lymph gland up here under my left pec muscle. And if that wasn't enough, then came the real surprise. This was appendix cancer, rare, stage 4B, with a KRAS mutation, which means it's resistant to both chemo and radiation. The oncologist said that chemo might be able to slow down the tumor growth a little bit and buy me a little more time, but this cancer can't be killed with any known pharmaceuticals. There's not a drug for it. Same question kept bugging me. For several days after all this, I kept thinking, how could this have progressed so far and I really didn't have any symptoms? I mean, not any symptoms that would lead you to believe that I had something like this going on. I had a little discomfort like a pulled muscle a day or 2 before the appendix burst. That was it. That's all that happened. And now I get this? I was expecting a diagnosis. What I got was a death sentence. I'll admit it took me several days to absorb it all. My wife, bless her heart, she was incredibly patient, but soon began discussing with me, hey, let's look at some alternatives. Let's see what else is out there that we might can find. Prior to this, I would have never considered options like cutting all the sugar out of my diet or juicing fruits and vegetables every day, and certainly not looking outside of a pharmacy for medicine. As far as I was concerned, medicine came from a pharmacy. But now suddenly I felt like Van Helsing, desperately seeking the antidote for a werewolf. With a terminal diagnosis, after a couple of weeks of discussing, I became convinced that we have to consider all approaches, anything out there. I'm not going to rule out anything. All I have to lose is my life. And based on what the doctor said, I didn't have much of that left. So in the hospital, we spent our time prayerfully seeking options. And for the first time in my life, I considered something like cannabis. More specifically, Rick Simpson oil. We were seeing a lot of information out there about success that other people were having. And the dose we found recommended was 1 gram a day for 60 days. So we planned to get started as soon as we could get home. I decided that since this cancer was so advanced and so far ahead of us, 1 gram for 60 days, I probably need to do more than that for longer. So after 11 days in the hospital and our 35th wedding anniversary that passed by, I came home with a wound vac attached to a gash that was about 2 inches wide, almost that deep, right down the middle, from right at the bottom of the sternum down to the belt line. Home care, they had sent supplies for a home health nurse to come and change the dressing and clean the wound every other day. and they had sent material for 12 weeks of care. The challenge was this wound had to heal from the inside out. There's no stitches, no staples, and no chemo as an option until this wound was fully healed. Well, as you already know, we had no desire to wait for, to start any kind of treatment. So the day after we got home, I started trying to build a tolerance to RSO. 10 days later, on May 1st, 2022, I reached a full gram per day, and from that point forward, I stayed at a 1.25 to 1.5 grams a day up until August 11th of 2022. I intended to go 100 days, lost track, and did 102. My wife figured out that if she measured the RSO into gel caps, that I didn't have to taste it or get the head high associated with THC, certainly not to the extent that you would think I would have eating 1.5 grams a day of that stuff. So for, right at 100 days, I was taking cannabis oil capsules morning, noon, and night. Pretty soon, actually before I got to a full dose of RSO, some really close friends of ours introduced us to a company called Get Healthy Again. And they have a variety of natural elixirs, come from sources like a particular sycamore tree bark from Alaska. Products like Ditocin and Zeolite and Honocare that are all known cancer killers. Since they didn't interfere with the RSO treatment or the prescriptions I was taking, we started right away. We also changed my diet significantly. Juices and superfood shakes began replacing and supplementing meals. And then another friend introduced us to a tincture that would help fight the cancer and a salve that would help heal my wound, a hemp-based salve, CBD in other words. So I applied the salve directly to the wound, and to everyone's amazement, it healed in half the expected time. Just as importantly, it completely sealed, because not all of those wounds completely seal. Soon we met with the oncologist and learned that I'm not a candidate for the new targeted immunotherapies. Instead, he suggested we use a very common old form of chemo called oxaliplatin with another one called 5-FU, and use that to try and slow the growth of the cancer and maybe buy some time. I'm always asked, Rob, why did you take chemo when you knew it couldn't kill the cancer? Well, ultimately, it came down to my decision to go all in, but if the chemo could potentially slow the cancer, I had to try. And at that point in time, we didn't have any scans to know if the natural elixirs or the diet change or the RSO or anything else naturally that we were doing was having any effect. We were kind of operating in the dark at that point. Plus, since we didn't know if anything was working, if I didn't try to buy more time, how could I look my daughters in the eye and tell them that I had done everything possible? Well, soon enough, right about the time my third chemo treatment was complete, we had another scan. I had completed 86 days on RSO at that point and had been taking the 60 days of elixirs, and my second PET scan came along. So we were sitting in the doctor's office to review the results, and while scrolling through the scan, searching for the tumors that we just knew were there, the oncologist had the old scan on one side and the new scan on the other. He said, Rob, these results are remarkable. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I've never seen this robust of a response in this kind of cancer so quickly, or any other kind of cancer. Now hang on to your hat. The blanket of tumors that was studding the peritoneal across the stomach had completely vanished. 5 of the 9 other remaining tumors were completely gone. Seriously, we had the 2 scans side by side, scrolled to the exact same spot, searched around on the new scan, We could see it on the old scan. On the new scan, there was nothing there. Of the 4 remaining tumors, they had all shrunk significantly, like 50% or more. And more importantly, the SUV, the metabolic uptake of those tumors, was down by 70% or more. Since then, thankfully today, we've continued to see remarkable scans and tests and results, and both CEA and Signatera blood tests are indicating that we have this cancer not eliminated, maybe under control. It's not completely gone, might never be. In my case, I don't expect to ever have that ring the bell day at the Oklahoma Cancer Center. No celebration of being cancer-free or NED, like they say, no evidence of disease. And I'm okay with that. I suspended chemo after the 5th dose, and now almost 8 months after being told I had 6 months to live, I feel better than I did prior to the surgery. For the future, I plan to continue avoiding the chemicals as much as possible and the DNA damage that they can do, and stick with the natural elixirs and the diet change that have proven that they can kill this cancer and hopefully keep it under control long term, while at the same time I have the opportunity to strengthen my body and recover from the surgery and the chemo. My story isn't over. There's obviously more to do. Like I said, I may never be done with this cancer. But there's more love to share. No guarantee of tomorrow, but then that's kind of everybody's story, isn't it? So hopefully you find something in the website here that is helpful to you. And if you do, please jump over to the Connect section and shoot me an email. I'd appreciate your information, your feedback, your thoughts on the site, and what you think was maybe most beneficial to you. Thank you for tuning in. Best wishes and good health to you.